Hello everyone, welcome back to my Blazblue lore video series. In my last video, I was talking about Ars Magus and how it was given to humanity. You see, when the rest of humanity was climbing up the mountains in order to get away from the Seether, they was developing the Ars Magus technology. You see, as time went on, they developed more new and complicated Ars Magus that took larger amounts of Seether. I think the most prominent was the rail station, the monorail, the flying cars. No, not the flying cars. It was the flying ships, my bad. It was the flying ships. It was the flying ships and lots of other things. They created like stuff that you'd only see in a fantasy novel. And a lot of the Blazblue stages, the lighting and technology that goes on around is Ars Magus. It's Ars Magus. So, how should I put it? As time went on, more complicated and more... Holy crap, did I go over my limit? Am I going over the limit? Oh, okay, no, I'm not. Alright, whew! Had me scared there. Alright, so, as time went on, people have started to develop more complicated and more more complex and more complicated Ars Magus. Way more complicated, to the point where they required more Seether. And as with more Seether, to generate more power, and the cities, they got bigger, they expanded. So then, that's when they invented the cauldrons. The cauldron, in a simplistic term, is just a giant well. It's a well that burrows deep into the mountains that go towards the concentration of Seether. That's still located down on the ground. So, facilities were built where they can get as much Seether as they could to power the Ars Magus. They keep generating it and generating it to keep powering. It's just it's like the principle from where where you take like a bunch of batteries to power like a city. I mean, that's the easiest I can explain it. I mean, there's way more details to it, but that's the simplest I could sum it up. But cauldrons, that's what they are. In total, there's a cauldron in each hierarchical city that powers it. I think Kagutsuchi is one of the smaller ones. And yeah, no, Kagutsuchi is one of the bigger ones. My mistake. Anyways, that's like the gist of the cauldrons. There's more details, but I'll explain that in a later video. Alright. Okay, this next part is going to be a little tricky to explain because, well, I just can't stress it enough. Just bear with me. If there is a question that if there's something that you don't understand, trust me, you'll understand at a later date. Now, as the hierarchical cities grew and developed and expanded on the mountains, organizations formed, small forms of bureaucracy and government, and hierarchies came into power. One of the more known ones was the Novus Orbis Librarium, or the Library, or NOL just for short. These guys, well, they're kind of like a militia / hierarchy organization that they're like the police. They're like the police. Their duty is to uphold justice and keep law and civilization in order. It's that's the gist of what they do. Really, that's what they do. They have agents and they try to expand amongst all the hierarchical cities, trying to keep the law, but they're just one organization. And when these guys first started, there was just a small organization that was only in one hierarchical city in I think it was, I can't remember which hierarchical city it was in, but it was in one of the smaller ones. Anyways, the NOL, they decided that, hey, you know what, we can't really expand our influence that far, so let's hire people to do it for us. So the NOL, they decided to hire people. Well, I mean, they hired people to bring in criminals that are wanted, and there's this ranking system, all the way from F class to SS class, from lowest to highest, where they rank criminals based on what they've done. And these individuals who they hire, or individuals who bring it upon themselves that they hire, are called vigilantes. These vigilantes, they go out, capture criminals, and bring them back to the NOL and receive payment. They're like mercenaries. And some vigilantes, they're graded on their strength. They're graded on their strength, their performance, and yada yada, etc., etc. The most commonly known vigilantes are Taukaka, Carl Clover, and there was one more Blazblue character, but I can't remember his name. Those guys, they're vigilantes, and they capture criminals and they turn them into the NOL for payment. And that's how the NOL tries to expand its influence without really expanding it. It's hard to explain. Basically, they're like our actual government, where they try to make sense but don't really make sense. But but that's the easiest I can explain it without giving too much away. There's more details, but like that's just one of the things that I could surmise. As time grew, the NOL became more powerful, and they expanded from one hierarchical city to more and more hierarchical cities until they reached 5. When they got to 5 of them, other people who were using Ars Magus for like current living, okay, the NOL tried to put regulations on the Ars Magus. Like regulations like, hey, you can't use this unless you get prior approval, or hey, you can't use that unless you got a license for it. And people were starting to get pissed about it. It was like, hey man, I bought this, I have the aptitude for this, so why the hell can I not use it? And the NOL was like, well, because it's dangerous and you might hurt yourself or others. Well, that's the excuse that they gave, but in actuality, the NOL didn't want getting more stronger than them. The reason varies, but regardless, it had kicked off a war. This war was known as the Second Ars Magus War, or known as the Ikaruga Civil War. Now, the Civil War, it was really bloody. Really, like, lots of people died. And it stretched across, like, 7 hierarchical cities. Mostly in Ikaruga. And I think Ikaruga was the 7th hierarchical city? I can't remember which number it was. But it spread across a lot of hierarchical cities, and people were, like, getting killed left and right, using Ars Magus on each other, like, shooting magical beams, missiles, and whammo! And amongst these figures that was in the NOL, it was Jin Kisaragi, Kagura Mutsuki, Bang Shishigami, and Tenjo, or Sakamara Horo Tenjo? I can't pronounce his name. So the NOL and the city of Ikaruga went to war. They went to war. Oh man, so many things happened. A lot of people were involved. A lot of the Blazblue characters were involved. I think Jubei was there? I can't remember. But then the NOL was like, alright man, we're tired of playing games. Please surrender or else we'll kill you. It was like, or what man, we got ninjas on our side. And then the NOL, they blew it up. The whole city of Yabiko was blown to smithereens. Was it Yabiko? Or was it Okoto? I can't remember. It was one of those cities, but luckily Bang, Shishigami, and Kagura Musuki was not there, and Tenjo was not present. But the whole hierarchical city and the mountain that was supporting it was vanished into thin air, like blown to smithereens. It just disappeared. Thankfully, Jubei was there to save some people, but he couldn't save enough, and a lot of people were dead. Even when the city was blown up, surprisingly, Ikaruga did not surrender. It was like, you blew up one of our cities, man. We're gonna get payback. And they fought to the last man. They fought to the last man. They did not give up. They was not going to surrender. It was like, fuck you. You gonna blow up our cities and think that's cool? Fuck you. And so they kept fighting. They kept fighting. Bang kept fighting. Hell, Bang kept fighting until he got the scar on his face, which is that cross scar, which is like one of his trademarks. But then, you know, eventually they gave out. And Tenjo was slain by, well, he was allegedly slain by Gen Kisaragi. At the time, nobody knew who had killed, like, nobody knew, not even Bang knew. But news had spread that Gen Kisaragi had killed Tenjo and ended the Civil War. Then Gen Kisaragi was come to hail as the hero of Ikaruga for ending the Ikaruga Civil War. After Tenjo had died, many of Tenjo's soldiers had surrendered, and it was like, alright, our leader is dead, so we lost the will to fight. But a lot of the Ikaruga refugees, which was like the Tenjo soldiers at the time, they had migrated to nearby hierarchical cities. Some had just forgot the fight. They forgot the fight. They was like, I just want to live, man. I don't want to go up against these guys again. Like, you could have that, bro. And others like Bang Shishigami was like, you know what? We're gonna get our revenge. We're gonna avenge our master. And so this ironically became a running joke where Bang gets his ass whooped by Gen Kisaragi, like lots of times in the story, but in actuality it's because Bang becomes so angry that he can't focus, where Jin like just beats him like one hit. Is really sad. So after the war, a lot of refugees just went to, the majority of them went to Kagetsuchi, and they sought refuge. Bang, he hangs in Orient Town in Kagetsuchi, which is like where Dr. Lychee, where Lychee Fei Ling is, and where Miwa is, and where Taokaka is. So that's what happened with them, and that's how the Civil War ended. And I mean, that's not where the story ends, but dang, it was really rough. And there's more to it than that, but I'll get into that, like I said, into a later video. Alright.